Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back.
Pizza Hut packs so much meat in their Meat Lovers Pizza. 6 meats, over a pound of meat and cheese. This thing's a monster. Grab a $12.99 Meat Lovers Pizza by July 31st before it's gone. No one out-pizzas the Hut.
Don't settle for products that give you a sort of white smile. Try new Crest Whitening Emulsions for 100% whiter teeth. Its highly active peroxide droplets swipe on in seconds. Better, faster, 100% whiter teeth. CrestWhiteSmile.com.
Those ribs ready?
No.
Ribs, better with Pepsi.
You know what sounds better than a sizzling single bacon king from Burger King? Mix or matching any of these great sandwiches. Buy one, get one for $1? Now featuring the single bacon king.
Can the world be your oyster if you're allergic to shellfish?
Good question.
How can we say strongest man in the universe if we haven't been to Saturn yet?
If love is blind, then how can it be at first sight?
Question everything. We did. The all-new Hyundai Tucson.
I'm so glad you're okay, Sergeant Houston. This is Sam with USAA. Do you see the tow truck?
Yes, thank you. That was fast.
Sergeant Houston never expected this to happen. Or that her grandpa's dog tags would be left behind. But that one call got her a tow and rental, paid her claim, and we even pulled a few strings, making it easy to make things right. That's what we're made for. USAA. What you're made of, we're made for. Get a quote today.
First place feels so good.
You believe in us yet?
Get out of here. Go back to Beantown.
This is New York, baby.
We are not going anywhere.
Sox-Onians.
This is our time.
When these teams play, standings do not matter.
Give us.
Give us
the rivalry.
Let's go, New York.
Go Stop.
We're coming for you, boss.
The best is yet to come.
On Sunday Night Baseball, Red Sox, Yankees, Sunday at 7 on ESPN. Telecast presented by Taco Bell.
Live sports. Thousands of live events. ESPN Plus Originals. The exclusive home of the complete 30 for 30 library. Exclusive access. Top leagues and tournaments. And the biggest names in the game. ESPN Plus. Sign up now.
Do it. When I ain't walking.
Our next UFC Fight Night is tomorrow, and you know we have another stacked card. Rising superstar Islam Makhachev, he's 19-1, coming in on a 6-fight win streak to take on 15-4 Thiago Moises in the lightweight main event. The prelims start at 7 Eastern on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Plus. followed by the main card at 10. Aaron Rodgers.
Dan, slow now, but won't be slow for long. We are 11 days away from the time that the Packers and Aaron Rodgers are scheduled to report to training camp. That gives both sides 11 days to figure out whether there's some sort of compromise to bring Aaron Rodgers back to Green Bay in time for training camp. Hard to imagine he shows up there under the current deal, but money is not the issue in this particular case, as we know. And there's a similar storyline unfolding in Houston, albeit for much different circumstances. Will Deshaun Watson be there for the start of training camp? I think the feeling around the league is no. The question is, how will he not be there, and when and if the Houston Texans will move on from him? There is an expectation that Deshaun Watson has played his last down in Houston. And meanwhile, the Tampa Bay Times reported that Tom Brady played last season with a torn MCL, which makes the legend grow that much more impressive. As if everything he's done on the football field isn't impressive enough, well, he played through a knee injury, helped lead Tampa to a Super Bowl title, and did it hobbled the entire time. And a lot of people wondering why he wasn't on the injury report. The fact of the matter is, the Buccaneers didn't know that he had the injury that he did. He took every snap in every practice, didn't miss any practice time, so he just did it with a torn MCL, Dan.
Yeah, unbelievable. As you say, the legend grows. 43-year-old Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl on one good leg. Mina Kimes, how do you think other teams feel when they hear that?
Not great, Dan, because as you said, not only did they lose to a 43-year-old man, they lost to a 43-year-old man playing through injury, which is humiliating. And then going forward, I actually believe this Bucs offense is going to be even better this season. They really didn't hit their stride until later in the year and then into the postseason once the offense really started, I would say, shaping itself around what Brady does best, incorporating more play action, pre-snap motion. The skill players all come back. They added Giovanni Bernard to the mix, which I thought was a fantastic pickup. And the offensive line is, again, healthy and returning with Tristan Wirfs, who was a rookie last year, likely taking another step forward. So you look at all of that and you say, oh, yeah, and Tom Brady, the guy who beat us last season, he's fully healthy this year? That's a nightmare for every team around the NFL.
Well, listen, Mina, you are absolutely right, but we know expectations for Tom Brady is always Super Bowl. Now, everyone else plays under the microscope. We're not talking about Tampa winning the NFC or their division. We're talking about them repeating as Super Bowl champions. So the pressure is on, and we all know it's much more difficult to get there. This team is built the right way, right? And as much as we talk about Brady and the legend grows, this team is built up front at the line of scrimmage. Defensively, they are as good as anybody in this league and young and returned everybody. So look, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it will be tougher for you guys. The Saints beat them twice in the division last year. Obviously, Drew Brees is gone. Carolina is expected to be a better football team. Atlanta plays Jekyll and Hyde, but they've hired Arthur Smith. Hopefully things can get turned around there. They have a tremendous amount of talent as well. When the Super Bowl is the expectation, and I say it with so much emphasis because last year we didn't know. We didn't know without a season. We didn't know with Tom Brady coming over brand new. They were adding pieces, trying to figure things out. Teams know the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now, and they also know the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as Super Bowl champions, and everyone has made moves to try to get better, not only in their division, but on this side of the conference. So we'll see how it goes. That's why it's so much more difficult to get there a second year, which is why it's been so impressive what the Chiefs has done.
You know, normally Marcus would talk about, so go on, Mina, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's just remarkable that they were able to retain all of their talent, and I think it speaks to, again, the GMing of Jason Light and company, and also some of the contracts taken by these players who did choose to come back and not test the market. Now, we are going to talk about the players who are playing out this year on the tag. Chris Godwin comes to mind. There is some urgency to take advantage of the roster they do have in place. But again, the fact that they return the entire roster, like we talk a lot about how difficult it is to get back to the Super Bowl, but very few teams are able to also bring everybody back in the same way, and that's what's so rare about this Bucs team.
And it's a big deal, too, because you talk about the group around Tom Brady. You talk about his protection up front. Marcus talking about, winning the game in the trenches. they definitely did that. Last season, Brady was pressured on just 17% of his dropbacks. Now, that's the second lowest rate in the NFL. Only Ben Roethlisberger was pressured less on a percentage basis. However, when he did face pressure, Tom Brady I'm talking about, he completed just 35% of his passes. That's bad. The only quarterbacks with a worse such completion percentage were Sam Darnold and Dwayne Haskins. That is not a list on which we're used to seeing Tom Brady. So this is a guy who, I mean, look, it's no insult to Tom Brady to say, and he would probably admit it. He needs his offensive line to be good in order for him to be successful, in order for the team to be successful. So it got me thinking, Marcus, is there another quarterback you can think of that when you say this guy really needs his offensive line or else he's in big trouble?
Hell yeah, Dan Gia. That's why I'm glad you asked. It's Ben Roethlisberger. Listen, Mina thinks Ben is done. I'm just playing, Mina. I'm going to pull back. I know you hate when people come in your DMs. But here's the deal. It's not only about Ben's protection when he's dropping back to pass. Ben also needs his offensive line to be good so they can run the football and not ask him to throw 30, 35, 40, 50 passes a game. In totality, this offensive line needs to be better because the offense needs to be more balanced. We saw last year when everybody caught up with the Steelers, the offensive line is as important to Ben as it is to Tom Brady.
Yeah, well, my DMs are closed, so I'm good, Marcus. But the name that comes to mind for me is the rookie quarterback, Mac Jones. This is something we talked about pre-draft, how to evaluate him and compare him to some of the other quarterbacks in this draft. Really all of them, frankly, taken in the first round because he is such a prototypical pocket passer, played in such a good situation at Alabama. He is not going to create and get out of the pocket. And same way, not unlike Brady himself. Fortunately for Mac, regardless of when he starts, he ended up on a team in New England with a fantastic offensive line. It really couldn't be a better spot for the young passer. So whenever he does play, he will be well protected, which is why I like that pick for him.
Jones, of course, now on Brady's former team. Brady's current team trying to win back-to-back Super Bowls, something no one's done in 17 years. Guess who the quarterback was the last time it happened? Yes, it was Tom Brady of the 2003-2004 New England Patriots. Meanwhile, we continue to follow a serious story involving free agent cornerback Richard Sherman, who was arrested earlier this week after an incident at his in-laws' house. Adam Schefter rejoins us now to give us the latest on the Richard Sherman story. Adam, what more can you tell us?
Dan, free agent cornerback Richard Sherman is facing 5 misdemeanor charges stemming from his arrest at his in-laws' house northeast of Seattle earlier this week. The charges include 2 domestic violence counts, criminal trespass in the 2nd degree, malicious mischief in the 3rd degree, along with resisting arrest, driving while under the influence, and reckless endangerment of roadway workers. The charges are all misdemeanors, punishable by up to 90 days in jail, or gross misdemeanors punishable by up to 1 year in jail. And earlier today, Richard Sherman posted this statement on Twitter. I'm deeply remorseful for my actions on Tuesday night. I behaved in a manner I'm not proud of. I have been dealing with some personal challenges over the last several months, but that's not an excuse for how I acted. The importance of mental and emotional health is extremely real, and I vow to get the help I need. I appreciate all the people who've reached out in support of me and my family, including our community here in Seattle. I'm grateful to have such an amazing wife, family, and support system to lean on during this time. And obviously, this will be an unfolding story. We will track how it continues to go. But that is the latest developments, 5 misdemeanor charges handed down today against Richard Sherman.
That's the latest from Adam. Thank you, Adam. Marcus, your thoughts when you hear about this story?
Yeah, Shefty, listen, man, when the reports were coming out, Shefty and Dan, I wanted to wait and kind of figure this out because I've had a chance to meet Richard Sherman. I've had a chance to meet a lot of people that know him and that are close to him, and it just seemed so out of character when it came. But the thing that I wanted to say, one, I'm glad he made that statement and took full responsibility. But as we talk about these players, and we do it on this show and we enjoy it, and we talk about their games, this is another part of myself as a former player that's really prevalent in the NFL. And I think Richard Sherman going through this and seeing the support from his wife and his family and everybody out there needs to understand that this is an entire family matter as opposed to just Richard Sherman by himself. So not only are thoughts and prayers with him, but it's one of those things where we got to look at these guys as humans, and we look at their family situations, and no one is immune to going through things like this. So I wanted to just bring that into the conversation because we talk about charges, we talk about court dates, we talk about him being in jail, but there's also another part to this with an entire family dealing with what's going on and asking for privacy. So that's where I wanted to leave it, is that this is an entire family going through this, as well as Richard Sherman, and I think it's important that we all kind of learn from situations like this when it comes to these guys.
Absolutely right. Of course, we hope the best for Richard and his family. And as Adam mentioned, we will keep you posted as the story continues to develop. When we come back from our break, we're going to bring it back on the field. Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen took a big leap last season, and Bills legend Jim Kelly noticed. Stay with us to hear what he had to say about the young quarterback in Buffalo. And later in the show, we're going to look at the top 10 tight ends in the league. Someone here thinks that the guy at number 1 isn't even the most talented of the bunch. 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round of the 2018 draft, and 3 of them appear to be in line for contract extensions, possibly as soon as this offseason. Talking about Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, Josh Allen in Buffalo, Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. So, Adam, get us caught up. Where do things stand with those 3 contract situations, starting with Lamar?
Well, Dan, the most extensive talks seem to have occurred between Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. They've talked about an extension during the offseason. They've talked about the fact that they'd like to get it in place at some point this summer. And these are the quarterbacks that are eligible, and a player that has played as well as Lamar is deserving of a new deal. Baltimore wants to keep him around, and the plan is to try to get that deal worked out at some point this summer. I can tell you that one of the interested observers of that deal will be quarterback in that division, the Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield, the former number 1 overall pick of that respective draft. Again, when the deal for Jackson, if and when it gets done, Baker Mayfield will have some parameters for a contract for himself, so the Browns are interested in keeping Baker Mayfield. We'll see whether these two sides can figure something out. And the great young quarterback in Buffalo, Josh Allen, also eligible for a new deal. Being in that same draft class, Buffalo obviously is going to want to keep him long term. They're not going to let him get anywhere. And you'd figure that the two sides will work out some sort of long-term extension. And again, the logical point to do it would be before the season. The team would want it, the player would want it, and now the question will be whether they can actually come together and get that done, Dan.
Interesting. There's more time between the end of the preseason and the start of the regular season this year than there used to be. So you wonder if maybe some of these things can get worked out at that point. So we'll keep an eye on that. Deal or no deal, Josh Allen is, of course, trying to get the Buffalo Bills into the Super Bowl, something Jim Kelly did 4 times when he was their quarterback. Allen has a fan in Kelly who says he fully expects the Bills to extend their young quarterback at some point. Kelly recently addressed Allen's future with the organization, saying, I mean, if he's gone, I don't know who is or who it's going to be. He just has to be consistent, and I know him well enough to know that the kid can play. If you get the right material around him, which I think he has, and the offensive line gives him time to throw, things will be awesome. And talk about my records, talking about Bills franchise records. I knew before last season started that those records aren't going to stay around very long. One of those records is already off the board, the Bills franchise record for most passing touchdowns in a single season. Last year, Allen eclipsed Kelly's previous record of 33 in Week 16 and then finished with 37. Of course, one milestone Allen hasn't accomplished yet, as we mentioned, the AFC title that Kelly delivered 4 times. So, meaning when you hear Bills legend Jim Kelly talking about the current quarterback, Josh Allen, what do you think?
Well, I think Jim's right about Josh likely breaking his records. I would quibble with his point about the offensive line giving him time to throw. Josh Allen took the 3rd longest time to throw of any quarterback last season. It's part of what makes him great, Dan, his ability to extend plays. And it is a style of quarterbacking more than a flaw. I mean, if you look at the list of guys who took the longest to throw, you'll see names up there including Allen, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. It's not a negative, but it can sometimes make an offensive line look or seem worse than they are if you're to judge them only on sacks. To me, the thing that Josh Allen needs to do next season to build on his success last year, which was this incredible leap, is just to maintain consistency. The decision-making, the processing, the improved accuracy downfield, those are the things we want to look to continue in Buffalo, because this organization has done a phenomenal job of building around him from the skill players to the offensive line.
Mina, you make great points. And then, too, thinking about Josh Allen, I think about the league in old school terms. And is Josh Allen going to be our generation's Peyton Manning or Phillip Rivers, who has to go through Tom Brady every year to try to win a championship? And that could be Patrick Mahomes when it comes to Josh Allen. It doesn't have anything to do with his talent, doesn't have anything to do with his ability to lead a team. I think he proved that last year, that he has a very high ceiling in this league. The question is going to become for Josh Allen in his career, and quite frankly, a lot of AFC quarterbacks, can you get past the monster? And that monster is Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Because not only are these organizations seemingly committed to their young quarterbacks, it seems like the Kansas City Chiefs are committed to their quarterback as well for the long haul. And not being committed to him as far as money and contract-wise, the moves that they make in order to keep him not only protected, but also keep weapons around him. So I'm interested to see if Josh Allen is going to overcome that hump of Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, because we do expect them to be vying for a Super Bowl contention every single year based on the things that they built around there. I can't wait to see this movie play out. Will he be the Phillip Rivers or the Peyton Manning or the Clyde Drexler or the Patrick Ewing, who they were to MJ, or will he get over the hump during Patrick Mahomes' prime while he's with the Buffalo Bills?
Not easy, and the Bills certainly know it. Last time the Bills were in the Super Bowl was the '93 season. Josh Allen was born in '96, so that's how long that's been. It's no secret who the top tight ends in the league are anymore. Next, we'll go behind the scenes as they all unveil their techniques and their tricks.
Just about getting this individual group the amount of respect and attention they deserve.
As we head to break, let's take a look back at some of the fun we've had this week on NFL Live.
Never fear, have a beer.
That's too slow.
Well, I've never been on the show because I'm 5'4" and 140 pounds.
They look like they have dad bods like I do.
Damien, you weigh 3 times what I weigh, and I'm still going to tell you that I think you're wrong.
You always brag, Dan, about your prowess on the diamond.
1996.
Yeah!
Thank you for willing to be a part of this.
Go!
We're currently in discussions with Travis Kelce to help us intro NFL Live every day, so we'll keep you posted on that. But what you were looking at there was behind the scenes at what's basically become summer camp for players in the NFL. We're talking about players of a certain position that gather together for brainstorming sessions. Von Miller did one for pass rushers. Lane Johnson of the Eagles put one together last year for offensive linemen. And this year, George Kittle of the 49ers had the idea of doing one for tight ends. So over a 2-day stretch in June, Kittle invited 49 tight ends, as you heard, to Nashville to take part in what he calls Tight End University. Here's your campus tour.
Come out, don't rest the right left. We are big dudes. Use that power to your advantage. Oh, you like that?
Tight End University, it's a place that all the NFL tight ends, guys from each and every team, can come together, learn from each other.
A lot of different positions have started the summits in the off seasons to try and just get conversation started, try to get everybody to know who we are out from under the helmet and the face mask.
Just about getting this individual group the amount of respect and attention it deserves.
I mean, that's ideal, right? Yes, sir. I'm always running my route off of somebody. Try and stack them. Try and get around them. Do whatever you have to do at the line of scrimmage to give yourself that three-way go to keep him guessing. Because that's all it is. You keep a linebacker guessing, it's over. Once he gets his momentum here and he can get back under control, now he can still play.
The classroom sessions were just a lot of guys that have had a lot of success in the NFL discussing how and why they've been able to have that success.
Guys are heavy on the notes, learning a lot, and not just about playing tight end, but the mental preparation that it takes to play tight end.
Just really progressing the position, picking each other's brains, having fun,
working together, trading tools, trading tricks.
We're always trying to create habits, right? Create routine.
When guys get here, there's like more to grab and there's more to stop. When you're here, you're punching and all you're gonna catch is there and you're gonna rip that. Yeah. They won't touch you, right?
From the mindset and mentality it takes to go out there and dominate to small things as far as setting up routes and run game footwork. It's great to be able to learn from all these guys.
We're gonna do the first 2 steps versus 6 tech and the first 2 steps versus a 9 tech. All you wanna do is not drop step and you don't wanna step under yourself. You just don't wanna do that because you're not going anywhere and you're wasting time.
I am the youngest guy here. I'm the only rookie. You know, I'll ask questions, but for the most part, just listening, picking their brains, seeing how they prepare for a game, how they win their matchups, and trying to plot to my game.
You gotta accelerate and move this one first. It's kind of like you want to be more of like a boxer stance, you know what I mean? You want that force to be in the ground. So when I'm going into a break, I'm right here, boom. What we don't want to do is when we come out, drop step and turn at the top. That's not creating any separation.
It's always good to humble yourself, take in information on where you can adjust your game, and there's no better way of doing that than with other elite tight ends or talents.
Going into year 9, I still don't view myself as a finished product by any means. I still think I have a lot of better football in me. And so for me, it's just all about getting better at this point.
You on 3, 1, 2, 3.
So right now, exclusively on ESPN, you may want to look away. We're going to show you the 2020 NFL sack leaders. T.J. Watt of the Steelers led the pack with 15 of them, the most by a Steeler since James Harrison in 2008. Followed by Aaron Donald of the Rams, put up 13.5 sacks. Tied with Donald was Trey Hendrickson, who was with New Orleans and is now in Cincinnati. He's having a big breakout after recording just 6.5 sacks in his first 3 seasons. But how important are sacks really? Former Bengals defensive end Carl Lawson, now with the Jets, recently said you can't judge somebody based off of sacks as far as how productive they are. But if you want to get to that elite status where you're considered an elite defender, then you need to convert those pressures into sacks. That makes sense, right, Mina? I mean, he's saying it's not the only thing, but it's important if you want to, when it comes time to get paid, basically. What do you, how should we be looking at sack numbers in terms of their importance in evaluating the edge rusher?
Well, I think Carl Lawson put it really well in his comment about sacks not being the only thing. And he's a great spokesperson for this cause because, as you mentioned, he was essentially replaced in Cincinnati before going to New York with Trey Hendrickson coming from New Orleans. Last year, Hendrickson had 13.5 sacks. Lawson had 5.5. Does that mean Hendrickson was twice as good as him? Absolutely not. Hendrickson got to play with Cam Jordan on a stacked defensive line. A lot of those sacks were cleanup sacks and unblocked pressures. Meanwhile, we have better ways of measuring pressure in 2021. Here's one of them. First pressures, the ESPN statistics, really what it sounds like. You can see Carl Lawson actually ranked 4th in the NFL last season. Sacks created, which actually looks at how often pass rushers are beating their blockers in less than 2.5 seconds. Carl Lawson ranked 7th. So that's not to say that sacks don't matter at all. As Lawson said, at a certain point, if you want to be considered elite, you do have to get to the quarterback. But at this point, we have the tools in NFL analysis, I think, to look at both the context, who are the players around them, and also to use statistics to really evaluate these guys.
Well, initially, my response was, yeah, when you have 5.5 sacks and you're supposed to have double digits, this is the statement that you make. And I wasn't a sack artist by any stretch when I was in the NFL, so it doesn't determine everybody's impact. And I'm with Carl Lawson. I understand exactly where you're coming from as well with that meaning. I think another guy that's the poster child for this is Jadeveon Clowney, right? When you're taking first overall, when you have the measurables and the athleticism that he has, people consider Jadeveon a bust because he's not out there getting 12, 15, 20 sacks a year. But he's a great run defender. He's double teamed as much as anybody else in the NFL. And people understand how dominant he can be. His health has been more of an issue than his productivity as far as how good he's been on the football field. But it makes total sense to me. I've been around guys that impact the game beyond sacks that play on the D-line, but I also realize how important they are for the guys that consider themselves to be paid to get the quarterback on the ground.
Yeah, Marcus, you said something really interesting in our meeting earlier about sacks and how they can be more important depending on when they happen in the game.
Yeah. Absolutely, DG. It's situational. And I played with one of the best to ever do it in DeMarcus Ware. And he always was the guy to talk about 2 minutes before the half, in the game drives and possessions. What do we remember great quarterbacks for more than anything? Those game-ending drives, those end-of-the-game drives. And when you have guys like the DeMarcus Ware I played with, or the Shaq Barrett, Myles Garrett, Aaron Donald, T.J. Watts, those guys get that lore, that elite status, because they show up in those moments. That's why they're paid $18, $20 million a year to do what they do. Yeah, you want to get sacks. You want to be double-digit. You want to have a number of sacks when the year is over. But these guys are really paid to make impact plays at those particular times. Those are when sacks come into play. When you go from a 1st and 10 to a 2nd and 20, and you're trying to make a game-winning drive or a 2-minute drive at the end of the half to take a lead. When you are staring down Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, and you know if you get them behind the sticks, you have a better chance of them not winning the game at the end. That's why those guys are paid like that, and those sacks are important at those times.
I'll tell you what, no matter what metric you use to measure the impact of a pass rusher, Aaron Donald comes in as awesome. Not only was he his second most first pressures on pass rushes last year, he also had the second highest pass rush win rate against double teams. So whatever stat you want to use, Donald's got it for you. He is number one at the moment. After the break, we're going to talk about the Saints. Drew Brees is going to be tough to replace, but the New Orleans defense is also looking to